Alright, the other thing I'm canning today is some blueberry jam. Every recipe that I have online that is approved from good sources for listed high acid fruits like blueberries is 2 to 1 by weight fruit to sugar, basically. So this is like 2 pounds of blueberries and a pound of sugar. And again, for home canning at water bath temperatures, you have to follow the formula to make sure that you get enough acid and sugar to keep the bacteria at bay. So there's no way to make this like low sugar, as it were, but and have it be safe to put on the shelf. And you'd have to make it freezer, or you'd have to make freezer jam if you want to do low sugar. So I again mix everything up the day before, just because that helps me keep on top of actually finishing canning. Now I'm going to throw it in the pot and add some pectin as I boil this up and get it ready to can, and a dash of lemon juice, because the extra acidity from the lemon juice helps brighten up the flavors, and also gets the pectin to activate and gel up properly. So we'll boil this up and can it too. Alright, well, the blueberry jam here is heating up while I boil water for the canning. And the important thing about this is to keep stirring it so the sugar doesn't burn on the bottom of the pot, because what you're doing is melting a bunch of sugar to suspend fruit in, basically, because the moisture from the fruit makes the syrup. But I am using a potato masher to stir, because that helps squish the blueberries. And then I don't have to, I like chunky bits in my blueberry jam, so I just stir with a potato masher, and that pops the fruit to make so that the insides will get exposed to the extra sugar, and it gets some of the pectin out of the fruit too. But keep doing this and get it to boil while my other water is boiling, and then we'll get to fill and can these. Alright, an important step of jam making is we've been stirring this for a bit, getting it up to temperature, and now it's started to boil. As it boils and foams like this, now we get to do our skimming, and that is to get any of the impurities out of here, so that we'll get a clearer jam, because all this foam helps float bits of dirt and stuff out of the jam that will make it less pretty. So I'm going to stir and skim for a little bit, and then we get to do our canning. Alright, I don't know if this shows well on camera, but when I skimmed before, it was all fine foam with no big bubbles coming up through it. And now that I've done a bunch of skimming on this jam, all the big bubbles are coming up through, and that means we are ready to can. So I have my boiling water and my jars. My jars were just in my water bath, being boiled for about 5 minutes, so we washed them, rinsed them, boiled them for 5 minutes, and now we're gonna fill them with jam and can. So, got all my jars out here. I have boiled all my tools as well, and I just have my, should have thrown this in the sink. I just have my jar lids in hot water because they've changed the formula for the seal on jar lids, and you can no longer boil them because they'll go bad. So you just put them in hot water until you're ready to use and can with them. And then I'm just going to fill these jars up to the ½ inch mark for a little bit of headspace. You gotta leave air in there so the lid will pop properly, but you can't leave too much air space in there because that allows the bacteria to grow. Or can allow bacteria to grow. The other important thing is to get all the air bubbles out as you go. They make tools and stuff for that. With runny jam like this, it's not really a big deal because it'll just fill the jars and won't trap bubbles, but when I do my pickles I have to be careful of them because the shape of the pickles may trap air underneath the things. So and I have extra jars here, but the first thing you learn when you start canning is to always have extra jars, because having to hurry up and wash and sanitize more jars or go back and try to squeeze the last bit of anything into another jar is incredibly hard. So there we go, and that's what's left in the bottom of that. Alright, I've put these jars in and my water level's a little too low to cover the last jar, so I'm just putting an extra jar with some water in there to displace water until it comes over the top, and throw the lid on there and give those 10 minutes in the water bath with a little bit more heat so the boil is higher. The jam came out after 10 minutes and it went really well. All of the buttons popped down very quickly on the small jam jars, and you can see the mustard pickles in the back. Those popped after a little while, but all my jars sealed today, which is always a good time when you do your water bath canning. Sometimes you miss a seal and it doesn't come together, and then you have to eat it before it goes bad. But all these jars sealed, so they should be good on the shelf for 6 months or more.